Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's by my time 10 o'clock. I'm sure there's a few more people. Morning, Ian. A few more people going to log on. We've got a good body of people already. I should keep the screen as this for a moment and welcome you to physical preparation for new and developing coaches. I know there's some more experienced people out there, and you are more than welcome to support, type in, and I will prompt, and so will Darren. If anybody wishes to talk to somebody with some more knowledge, the Southwest Endurance Network is full of them, and they all are very happy to see and talk to you. So here we are with physical preparation. This is one of 4. So best case scenario is that you go through all 4, because that will give you the knowledge. I can't cover it all in number 1, and actually by the time we get to number 4 you may think that we haven't covered it all there. We will do the very best that we can, and we will try, and maybe have a number 5 which might be a mop-up Q&A wash-up meeting. We'll see how we go. So without further ado, here we are. Let's see what we've got here for, let's start physical preparation. Best practice. I think it would be great if you managed to revisit, let's start with webinars 1, 2, 3 and 4. Those of you that have done this, make sure you think of it, there was conditioning, drills, interval work and Oregons. So a fairly good, and planning, actually we chucked in another one. So there's plenty of there to do. Have a look at Movement Skill 1, which is online via the Athletics Hub. And one day, when restrictions are lifted enough, go to a physical preparation course with a, shall we say, a well-voiced and well-known presenter, so that you can see and put some of this into action, because I'm very aware that it's very easy for me to talk and very easy for you to look, but actually doing it is going to be the problem, I guess. Also, please be aware that as far as the presentations are concerned, there might be less time for questions as we have had in previous presentations. So have a good think about the questions that you wish to ask, and let's see if we can keep them relevant to the presentations that we've got, although we will try and go for anything else. We would suggest that you get a copy of, or actually read or get the PDF version of Supple Leopard, a great book for lots of reasons and pickies. And we also would say on YouTube, Facebook, Mobility WOD, run by the same chap, is a great version of looking at the same thing. There are lots and lots of reading, so I picked out 2, and the other one is fascia. And I would suggest that, especially for number 2, you have a look at fascia. I'd also suggest that you consider purchasing a few objects to help you and your athletes as we progress through the courses. So think about a lacrosse ball, an orb. An orb is about a 5-inch round ball, not one of these funny things with lumps and bumps all over it. A foam roller, resistance and power bands, various, and a skipping rope. Now they will say, oh, what do we want that lot for? Well, you will see in number 2, when we put Neil Williams through his paces, that this is where these will come in. And this is what I'm saying, is I cannot cover everything in number 1. So here we go. What is it? What's physical preparation? Systematic training designed to create the capacity for training and a platform for performance. Sounds pretty logical to me. Yeah, but that's what we do. The problem is that a lot of us, dare I say it, in the endurance world, don't do it. I can't speak for the other disciplines, but I don't think, from what I've seen in local clubs, they're not that good at it either. They might think they are. Why would you do it? You want to create the qualities to achieve a technical model and achieve your goal. Remember, we talked about goal setting and planning, reaching your potential. How are you going to do it? If you've got impinged movement, you're not going to get there. High quality movement is key. And here we go again. You earn the right to progress through the system. The coach has the right to regress you so that you can then move through the system with some form of clarity. You should learn from other sports. We had a great question on the last one. What else should I do? Look at other sports. What do the tennis guys do? What do the international rugby chaps do? Soccer. Look and learn from other sports. I knew a coach who used to watch greyhound coaching to see how they moved. I would say that physical preparation is key to injury avoidance. How often do you hear people say, "Oh, I'm injured," and they're tired, but they keep running? Injury avoidance is key. It will start to address muscular imbalances and tightnesses. We will look at self-myofascial release. That is number 2. Yes, in number 2. And hopefully it will give you some longevity in your sport. That's key. We would like you to be in the sport for a long time. You would like to be in the sport for a long time. You would maybe coming to the sport late. No reason why you can't do this stuff. A little pictorial representation of what we're up against here. Yeah, physical preparation, support successful performance. Yes, definitely. So we talk about efficient movement, the strength, the force that you put into it, how fast you move it, and that is it being you and various parts of your anatomy, and we'll have a look at that again in a minute, will lead to efficient movement. And on the right, if you get it right, enhanced performance. If you get it wrong, we might be ending up with an injury, but we get it right again, we're going to come up with the whole pie chart of injury prevention. So we can go in week on week on week, you end up with what we know as a robust athlete. Oh, please make sure, if you want to make notes, you want to take screenshots, please do. In about 5 days, these presentations will be on the Athletics Hub for you to look at again, because I think you need to do some homework, he said. Conditioning. Athletic conditioning. What do we understand by this? I mentioned the word just now, robustness. Robustness, in my view, is the ability to train session after session, week after week, month on month, year on year, and progress. How often do you find somebody who's done a really hard session and says, I can't do this, I'm too sore from the last session? Athletic conditioning, not robust. Capacity for training. Yeah, it allows you to build a box, a pyramid, to allow you to train at all the various levels that you need. And as I said, they're the blocks for future work. You will hopefully, with correct conditioning, avoid injury. Here's a bit of a nutshell. Triplanier movement. You are a 3-dimensional animal. Just watch somebody walking down the street. How do they move? Somebody getting out of a chair, sitting down, let alone one of your athletes running along the road, through a park, on a track. They do not move in one plane. So why do you drill in one direction? Why can't you drill in multiple directions? Forwards, backwards, sideways. Think about it. How many times do you see people who do drill, and not everybody drills, just going in one direction? Fundamental movement patterns. There's a whole screen in itself, and we'll talk about that very shortly. In fact, in the next screen. So we'll just park that one for a moment. It lays the foundation for strength and power training and intensity. You will see as we go through, I will introduce you to 3 of my cracking young ladies who volunteered to help. And you'll see Laura, Harriet, and Amy later in action, and you will see that the foundation of strength and power is there, and we can show you how they've done it. Didn't happen overnight. So planes of movement. Yeah, here's our three-dimensional beastie, and you can see that this chap has got, poor chap has got planes of glass or stainless steel inserted, but it shows you that there are horizontal planes, vertical planes, and parallel planes. To use their correct names, we've identified them there. And to sound a bit school teachery-ish, it would be good for you to read and understand and learn these sagittal plane, coronal plane, and transverse plane. But more than that, I'd like you to watch people move and see what planes they're moving in. Watch an athlete run round a corner, as I said, somebody getting up, somebody sitting down, somebody going upstairs, somebody going downstairs. They move in all of the planes in all of the time. So going back and like a bit of an old scratch record, I would say you definitely need to move and drill and perform in multiple planes. And you will see this, I hope, as we go through the presentations. Okay with that? This is the one I would like you to learn, explore, come back with, have a go at. But this is one of the key slides of the presentation. Fundamentals. What is fundamental to movement? Triple extension, triple flexation, center of mass over base of support, and range of movement. We'll talk a little bit about those. What is triple extension? I currently am sitting. If I stand, my ankle, knee, hip will go through a triple extension. If I sit, my ankle, knee, hip will go through a triple flexation. If you throw a ball, your shoulder, elbow, wrist will go through flexation and extension. It is key, fundamental to movement. Squat, ankle, knee, hip, hip, knee, ankle. You have to follow that sequence. You can't do them out of sequence. You will collapse and fall over. So think about triple extension and triple flexation and how you would move them. Center of mass over base of support. Your hip complex over your feet, bums over ankles, whatever way you want to look at it, because you have a stable base. Think of somebody standing on a wobble board on one leg trying to throw a tennis ball. That is not center of mass over base of support. That is not a stable base. You watch, should we say, runners of quality, no matter whether they are marathon, 800s, 400s, 4 hurdles, steeplechaser, center of mass, base of support, but they are stable wherever they are because they've got range of movement. And the range of movement will impinge the way that you move, and it will impinge your performance and the rate of progress. So again, I indicate to you physical preparation number 2, which we will look more at range of movement. So we looked at what's fundamental to movement: the triple extension, the triple flexation, a center of mass over base of support, and a range of movement. To those, you can now add the fundamental movement patterns. Here again, please explore, post these presentations, and see how we will look at them as we go through. So squat, from double leg to single leg, center of mass, base of support, range of movement, triple flexation, triple extension. It's all there. A lunge. We looked at lunges very early on, but we will look at lunges today in a more in-depth way, from forwards and backwards, and movement through a full range of motion and triplanier movement to see how it works. Brace with the front plank. Yes, there are other planks and other brace formats at the moment. I will just leave it. We would need to key in to front plank. We did cover front plank in conditioning. Remember, we talked about engaging glutes. We had ankles out at the back, toes coming towards the shin, flat, long back, solid. I can remember doing setting up brace planks with Neil Williams, actually, who's out there in the very early days of physical preparation and saying, look how solid that is. I showed you a picture at the end of conditioning of plank stacks, people on top of each other in plank. It's doable. Hinge is basically what it says. Think of a door hinge, how your body will hinge at the waist and move from side to side, or it might not be your upper body that's moving from side to side, it might be your lower body, but that's where the hinge comes. And land, drop, jump. Very early reference to what some people might talk about with plyometric, but at the moment, can you jump to a step? Can you jump from a step? How do you land? Is your center of mass over your base of support? Is your flexation impinging the way that you land? So are we okay with that? This is the screen where I would say, go home, have a look at it, explore it, come back in sessions 2, 3, and 4, and say at the end of number 4, I've got it or I haven't got it, because that will give us an indication of where we might want to go if we decide to put on a number 5, which would be a wash up. Okay, so fundamentals, fundamental to movement, fundamental movement patterns. Why are mobility and flexibility important? Well, I think we may have answered some of those questions already. We maintain or improve athletic posture. And by maintaining and improvement athletic posture, again, be visual, look and see what is happening around you, look and see how other people move, think how you move, look at how your athletes move. Is it how can you improve their athletic posture? You are trying to optimize the shape for force production and transmission. If you think of a tennis ball, if I drop a tennis ball from a standing position, it will bounce quite nicely. If I throw it through the floor, it will bounce an awful lot more. The shape of force production. Feel the force. A bit of a Star Wars analogy there, but yeah, feel the force. We want to reduce energy leakage. You can see that through the body with an unconditioned athlete. You will see where athletic posture is not correct and the energy will leak out. It'll leak out through ankle, knee, hip, shoulders, backs, glutes, pretty much anywhere. But the idea is to stop and start to support so the energy leakage does not happen. It supports respiration, mechanics, definitely. You breathe better. Reduces the risk of improved stretch tolerance of muscle. So basically, you've got more range of movement, therefore your muscle tolerance is greater, and you don't come back with delayed onset muscle soreness. I'm sure you'll hear people say, oh, I'm really sore from the last session, but it was on Tuesday and today is Thursday. Today is delayed onset muscle soreness, and it will help you get over that. So it assists recovery from training and competition. So I can see, and Darren is sticking up some good questions down there. Please don't be afraid to say, I don't understand. Can you go back to, could you put it another way? Most things are doable and we will do our best. Yes, Mr. Gambetta is a friend of mine, Neil, and that book is a great one. Okay, so why is flexibility important? I think the next slide will say, well, what happens if you get it wrong? If you don't prepare. Look at my poor friend on the right with his malfunctions. Now, I did say to Darren to begin with, I was going to be very careful how I said this, and I will still be, but please look at your local running community and see where you see what's happening on the right. Is there a lot of it about there? Do we have a chin point? Do we have our head down? Tight shoulders, trying to screw them into their ears? Lack of range of movement around elbow and shoulder, possibly leading to tendonitis, with a limited range of motion. The bottom of the back is painful because basically you can see glutes sticking out, glute max sticking out, bum, yeah. Therefore a wobble. And if you look from glute up to shoulder, that area, what would we say? Trunk. Actually a little bit below, yeah. From the top of the thigh to the top of the shoulder, trunk. No, it's not, Dan. I'm sure you're much better than that. We will see again in presentation 2 where we talk about trunk conditioning. But we move further down and we find that we've got painful knees, runners saying, oh, my knees hurt, tight calves. That's right across the community. Oh, my calves are tight. I wonder why they're tight. You've got such lack of mobility, range of movement between ankle, knee, hip. No wonder your calves are tight. And you don't do any conditioning, self-myofascial release, to help you through that. The bottom word there, dorsiflexion, which is basically looking at the range of movement within the ankle. Dorsiflex is where the laces on your shoe come towards your shin, and I tend to use with athletes of all abilities when I'm talking to them. I don't use the dorsiflex word, although it is there. I would say laces up, and that tends to get everybody's attention, because I don't want your toe up, because that tends to mean that your heel is coming down. Therefore the brakes are on. Painful arches, and again I keep referencing other presentations, but painful arches and a listening foot we will look at in number 2 with self-myofascial release. The fact that you have painful arches and your feet can't hear you, or you can't hear them, is a area of great concern and self-myofascial release. You can put it better. The fact that you've got it doesn't mean to say that you're left with it, because you go to El Chapo on the left here with a decent kinetic chain. You can see what's stable, what is mobile, got a nice smile on his face, and altogether better athletic shape, better conditioning. So before we move on, are we happy with that one? Okay, and remember, these poor chaps are in 1 dimension. You are 3-dimensional. That is key. You are 3-dimensional. Remember that. Watch out, you lot. Your athletes will move to a default position. What is a wing scapula? Let's go back. Shoulder blades being tucked up into your ears. No range of movements around there, and you find they stick out. Look at the back of someone when they're running, Tony. Athletes will move to a default position to compensate. We all do this. You've got a lack of range of movement. Therefore, you move in a way that allows you to move. It's not particularly a good way. You will find that athletes become injured because they've got a lack of range of movement. They're too weak. They cannot, they do not prepare. They do not condition. Notice I have never used the word through all of this strength and conditioning. Oops, I've just done it. Physical preparation, as we said in the beginning, is a total conditioning practice. You find also that repetitive bad practice will give repetitive bad movement positions. There is definitely, we talked about the lack of coaching, which is sad, or lack of conditioning. Shut up, Mark. Lack of conditioning, which is sad. And the last one, yeah, poor coaching. I use the analogy of a gentleman with a clipboard. Is what do you do when you see something is wrong? everybody can walk around and say, that's not a good position, that's not happening very well, I can see this is wrong. What are you going to do to put it right? And when are you going to factor that into your training programs? It's a big challenge. Okay, so watch out. Research. Now, this is from funded athletes, remember, at the moment. Okay. Sites of common injuries: hip complex and spine, ankle and toe and trunk. Now, that's just the funded chaps. Go to your local running community and ask them where their common injuries, pains are. I can virtually guarantee you they will come up at those same points: hip, ankle, toe, trunk. As I say, the challenge is, what do you see? Where are the injuries? What are you going to do? What are you going to advise? And when are you going to advise it? It's tough. Okay, we go okay with that. Yeah, so we've all started to see that the general running community, and I go from ultra to 4 hurdlers, and as I said, I have a grave question mark over the other disciplines as well, aren't very good at physical preparation. It is not planned in a particularly good way. Maybe we need to look at planning physical preparation sometime. Give myself more work. So this next 2 screens, we're nearly finished with screens, is think about how you move. Go back to the fundamental movements, and you will see there that we're talking about squat, plank, range of movement through the shoulder, through the hip. There are some very nice shapes and bracing going on there. How do you move? How do your athletes move? If you're going to take something as a template and looked at that screen, how do your athletes move? Given that the chap doing that is a very well conditioned, physical prepped, conditioned athlete with good range of movement, lots of symmetry going on there. Yeah, how do your athletes move? How are you going to get them to move in this way? How are you going to protect, correct, and develop? Can you see the similarities in this screen? We've got a couple of lads sprinting in a soccer game. We've got a very young chap there. I think it's a chap, I don't know. A young lady with an overhead lift, an Olympic lift. Somebody going down a step, somebody running, a couple of young developing athletes on a track. What is common to all of those shots? Squat. Single, double, squat, triple flexation. Look at my little friend in the middle there. That's triple flexation for you. Ankle, knee, hip. The young lady with X number of kilos winched over her head, a very, very fast movement. I might even show you an athlete doing that for real in a minute, just giving me an idea. But it's a fast movement, ankle, knee, hip. So there's a triple extension there. But where's the other triple extension? The other triple extension: shoulder, elbow, and wrist, hand, triple extension. And it will go to triple flexation as well. So we've got flexation in the down position, extension in the up position, and it will move from one to the other. Are we okay with that one? So if we go back to my fundamental movement screen, as I said, I can't give you them all, but today we're going to have a look at some video evidence of how to explore squat and lunge. I have not used professional video releases or from YouTube. I have asked 3 of my athletes to do them. Now, given that they've been working with me for some time, I'm very proud of them. They've done really well. You might say, oh, there's a bit of a wobble there, there's a bit of a this there, but it's pretty good. And have a go. That's the other thing that Darren and I would like you to do, is have a go. Go with your athletes and try it and see what it's like. Okay, so we will try and get the technology to do what we want to do. We're going to start off with lunge, and we're going to introduce Harriet, who you may have seen before, but Harriet's going to do more than just lunge. I'm going to shut up a little bit and let her get on with it. Well, I'll talk you through it. Whoa, 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 Harriet. Let's start from the beginning, shall we? Okay, a standard lunge. We are going forwards, lots of right angles. Look for triple extension, triple flexation, center of mass, base of support. Reverse, forwards and backwards. Difficult, you try doing that one. A medicine ball of 3 kilos over the lead leg. The same positions are held throughout the body. We're now talking about conditioning. The ball now goes overhead. The body shape remains the same. The extensions and flexations remain the same. The base is there, nice and solid. We like that. Can we have another quick look at that? Because that's a very good demonstration. So we move from a standard lunge. To get your athlete to do that, remember we talked about regress, progress. If you cannot do this action, you have to stop before you even try and do that action. It is competency based and not time managed. Harriet's been doing this for years, as she would tell you, with a big smirk on her face. Harriet, by the way, is about to go to university, so that gives you a clue of how old she is. And she's going to go to Kiel University, but we're still going to work together through the wonders of modern technology. So there is Harriet going through lunge sequences, but showing you triple extension, triple flexation, center of mass, base of support. I think I've driven that home enough now. So thank you, Harriet. We'll see Harriet again in number 3, I think. So we're now going to have a look at Laura. We're going to introduce you to Laura, and we're going to look at Laura going through some squat patterns. There's Laura, and that's what we call a criminal squat, with the hands behind the head, elbows back, shoulders back, head up, standard length squat. Look at the free squat, look at the bottom position, look at the knees pointing over the toes. Head up there, please, Laura, a little bit. But it's a good squat. Overhead squat. Now look at the challenge that's given Laura with just a broomstick. Well, actually, it's her mop over her head, but it's really good. Now we're going to go to a wall squat. Okay, again, flat angles, extension. This one, a little bit of a development of a wall squat, and raise the leg. Look at the dorsiflexion, lace up, raise the leg, and the concentration that Laura's got to have to go through that. So we'll do it again because that's quite a lot to get in. Criminal squat, and talk to your athlete about elbows, shoulders, knees, elbows, shoulders, knees. A free squat. We haven't put any weight on it yet. Just a free squat. Holding at the bottom position, that's really tough. Overhead squat. Look at the challenge that's already put on Laura just by putting her hands over her head with a broomstick with a mop on one side of it. But that's great. I like that. That's very good. Wall squat, great position. There we go, with the raised ankle. Okay, so, and finally, I'll introduce you to Amy. Amy is going to show you some sequences on both lunge and squat, but she's going to show you some squat sequences that are weight driven. Now that is a clean. Just think of lifting a medicine ball through the floor up to your shoulders and squatting. I've only put this in so you can see the extension and flexation, that is required both in knees and shoulders. We haven't thrown the weight over her head yet. That is a 15-kilo Olympic bar, a lighter Olympic bar with two 5K bells on it. So we're talking of 25 kilos. And Amy won't mind me saying that she doesn't weigh a great deal either, but she's a very strong young lady. And where's the challenge? She's on grass. So centre of mass, base of support, she's got a problem there with grass. Deadlift, we are now just pulling the weight up. Think of pulling a medicine ball up to your hips and pushing your hips up, work at the hip, push. There we are. Nice deadlift. Well done. We like that very much. And a very nice gardeners too, Amy. Any of you into gardening? Here's Amy now, a different view of the mobile lunge with a med ball, well in her case a med weight, locked elbows, hinge. We talked about hinge. How old is Amy? Amy is just about to leave university. So Amy is 22, I think, maybe 23. I don't know. I'll have to ask her. 22, early 20s. Look at the extension. Look at the range of movement. Look at the conditioning. Love it. Okay, so we'll let Amy go through her paces one more time. I think it's important that you see what I am seeing. And that will leave us a little bit of time for some questions. As I said, we have got it half in our head to have a wash-up meeting after number 5, if any of you are still awake by that stage. So after this, we'll have some questions and we'll see how we go with the answers. And I know there are some skilled coaches out there watching, and I'm more than happy for you to talk to them or them to talk to you via this platform or any others that you choose. Good deadlift, Amy. I keep looking at the garden. It's lovely. Yes. Okay. So as Amy finishes this, we won't go to the mobile lunges. We'll stop her there. And Darren, you're very welcome to open the Q&A if you're happy to do so. I hear a lot of runners, Neil, sorry, should say good morning, shouldn't I? Very rude of me. I hear a lot of running saying they can't do this conditioning because their knees hurt. This seems really important. Where would I start with that? I would start with that with physical preparation number 2, which will talk about range of movement, self-myofascial release, increasing the range of movement, and self-myofascial release is the use of rollers and balls and bands that will help increase that range of movement. But you say that because their knees hurt, well, why don't you take them to the fundamental movement positions to where their knees don't hurt? And as you progress really slowly and really methodically, you will find that the range of movement increases as well. Your challenge, Neil, is where do you put it? Could I do this with dumbbells? I assume that you meant the lunges and the deadlift. Of course, you can do it with dumbbells. And if you want to challenge your athlete, give them dumbbells of different weights, not to begin with. But yes, you can do this with dumbbells. But what are you looking for? You're looking for symmetry, flexation, extension. I always worry about knees going over or beyond tones when squatting or lunging. How concerned should I be about this? Well, if you have an athlete that is not conditioned and you overstretch, you are going to have a problem. The fact that if you look at a well-conditioned athlete, you will say they look stiff. I wouldn't be worried. I would say actually go to conditioning. I find it difficult to overload athletes with it. I find it difficult to overload athletes. Any tips for keeping instruction simple? Yeah, I would start to look for single word clues that they end up understanding, Ella. As I mentioned to you when we said about dorsiflexion, I use the word lace up, and they will soon start to build into your one word clues. So think of one word clues. And also when it comes to a session, and you might see an athlete running, poor dear, with, or gentleman, with about 8 things that aren't happening, pick 2 and work on those 2 in that session, and then go back and on the next session pick on another 2. Also, I would use video. Show the athlete what you are seeing, because quite often the athlete can't feel it, but if you show them, they can see it. I see what you mean, Mark. Basic conditioning starting in a small way seems to be the key. Well, it is. And as we went to the fundamental movement patterns, you're not going to jump in where Amy and Harriet and Laura are. You jump in at the beginning. In fact, you don't jump in at all. You step in at the beginning and get the beginnings right. Earn the right to progress. For distance runners, weight training require. It doesn't matter. I think what you're saying there, sir, is that repetition is more than weight. So therefore, when you see somebody go into a gym and do a squat, they might do a 3 rep max. I would be saying we are looking for lots of repetition, but what we're looking for the shape to remain the same throughout the whole sequence. If the shape doesn't remain the same through the sequence, you've got too much weight. So therefore, an Olympic bar for some, and given an Olympic bar, a full Olympic bar is 7 feet long and weighs 20 kilos, you might have to go to a lighter bar like Amy was using, which is 15 kilos, or a 10 kilo bar, or go to where Laura was with a broomstick, or a 3K, 2K, 5K medicine ball. How many conditioning sessions in tapering phase for elite athlete? Depends how many they were doing before, to be quite honest with you. I would say, I think the mistake that, in my view, that athletes and coaches make is they do lots of conditioning sessions through what they consider the winter or the general preparation phase, and they wheedle it out by the time they get to the competition phase. Keep it going. But as for the number, I think that is totally based on what they were doing in the first place. Sorry to have a bit of a wishy-washy answer there for you. Tony, hi. What conditioning form part of a normal training session or a whole? Would conditioning for, oh, I see, sorry. If you go back to some of the other, let's start with, you could certainly use Oregon's, therefore you've got an interval session with all of the fundamental movement conditioning in it, so it becomes part of the session. I used on Thursday with my guys as part of their drill session, we did a whole lunge session to begin with. And they were doing exactly what you saw the guys doing, forwards, backwards, sideways, overhead. So there is part of the session. I do and have used conditioning as a whole session, but I personally, and I like it, I prefer to use the Oregon style where I can mix it in with an interval. If you have no more further questions, we are going to talk to you and suggest that you go to the planning and go to the other webinars. Also, remember the homework, fundamental, which was fundamental. Hello, Lawrence. Mark, are you going to cover methods of how to improve range of movement later in this evening? this evening series for improving. Yes, I am, and that will be in number 2, Lawrence. That will be in self-myofascial release, and we hope to cover that then. So as we said, please, sounds a bit coachy, and it is. It is. We're trying to make this a challenging course. Try and come to all of them, and try and see where we're headed. Have a look, have a play, have a try, have a feel. Where do your athletes feel? Can they do they understand by number 2, triple extension, triple flexation, center of mass, base of support? And as I say, we to give you some idea of where we're going with 2, 3, and 4, maybe. I'll come be there in a minute, Marion. Is number 2 will be looking at self-myofascial release and screening. Number 3 will be based around trunk and conditioning, and trunk conditioning, I should say. And number 4, we will explore the pyramids of movement, including multi-jumps, or part of it. Marion, oh, I've just given something away. Sorry, Mike, where's my girls? I hope you're out there somewhere. We will talk to you about range of movement and multi-jumps in a couple of weeks. I'm working through the endurance event modules extension to coaching in running and fitness. Is there a particular Bible you would recommend on physical prep at the moment? Yep, Becoming a Supple Leopard. That's the one I would go to. I know that Neil popped up Gambetta's one, and there is yet another one, and I am desperately trying to remember its name, is Running Anatomy. If you stay there, I'll see if I can find it, because I can't remember who wrote it. There you go. Running Anatomy. That is a good one, in my view. I hope that helps. Do you have dates for numbers 3 and 4? We certainly do, but not in front of me. If you work on a 2-week cycle, they will be up there. So we are waiting for EA, bless them, to put the schedule up. Today is the 1st, so the next one will be 13th/14th. And then 2 weeks from then and 2 weeks from then. If you want to have a look at it that way, that's when you will find numbers 3 and 4. Hopefully I can encourage Spencer to stick the dates up relatively soon, but he's a busy chap. Please explain how to calculate the session volume for each energy system for a middle or longer distance runner. In this presentation, I have not got the time. If you were to put this question out on the Southwest, I'm sorry, but I haven't. If you put this question out on the Southwest Endurance Network, you will get some fantastic answers. I would go back to saying to you that have a look at your athlete. Where are they now? And look at the planning webinar that we did and see where they are. Once you understand where they are, you can say, right, how many key sessions a week can they cope with? Standard would be 3 high intensity sessions a week, 1, maybe 2 conditioning sessions, so and 1, maybe 2 recovery sessions. So where you start to calculate the volume of your faster, slower, and we would say threshold runs and all of the other components that you're asking for, that's where you would go. Also worth a look, fundamental movement screen. Oh, thank you, Mr. Williams. Yeah, now Mr. Gary Cook is, and I've got a document by Gary Cook with all sorts of wonderful movement patterns and screens by Gary Cook. It's a great book, lots of words, but another great book. Yeah, well done, Neil. Good one. So we've talked about where we're going in the future. We've challenged you to go away and practice, come back with some more questions. What was the other book called? I missed it. We talking about Gary book or Running Anatomy? Sorry about that. Nearly threw it at the screen. Running Anatomy. There it is. I hope that we've given you a food for thought, as they say. And for those of you from a more experienced end can understand where we're coming from. We also would say to you, do the homework, come back with more questions. We certainly would like to know where you would like us to take these series in the future, if we go anywhere else with them. We have covered a lot of ground, and hopefully we will go further. Christopher, a month's rest, is it okay to do nothing physical? I need you to qualify that a little bit, Chris. Are you resting because you've been injured? Are you resting to do nothing? Are you resting because you're in the phase of training whereby you've come from competition phase and going back into general preparation? I have active rest, which might sound a bit odd, but active rest for my guys is let's swim, let's cycle, let's jog, let's play, let's do physical prep, and without the intensity of the sessions. I guess we have to go back to say, why are you having a month's rest? So if there are no more questions, I think that just about wraps it up. As Darren's saying, I hope you found the session useful. I hope you enjoyed it, that we've done everything that you would like us to do. So thank you very much. Thank you, Ian. Nice to see you, sir. Spread the word. Tell your friends. Revisit this on Athletics Hub before the next one. Tell your friends that missed it. That's where it will be. And we hope to see you all again soon. Take care, Nikki. Nice to see you.